welcome back friends. So up till now we have learnt about sustaining organizational culture, why it matters and what is the role of human resource management to sustain culture. What are the strategies that can be used to sustain organizational culture? So let's understand all the aspects of sustaining organizational culture with the help of a case study of Southwest Airlines, how it clung to its culture even in the face of crisis. So Southwest Airlines was founded in 1967. It is a famous not for luxury or premium services, but for its fun, people-centric and egalitarian culture. The airline started with a simple mission: make flying accessible to everyone. And it built a no-frills, low-cost model to serve that goal. From the beginning, Southwest embedded employee satisfaction as a core value, operating with the belief that happy employees create happy customers and eventually satisfied shareholders. So instead of just concentrating on shareholders or the profits, they chose that if you can make your people happy, you are ultimately going to get more profits. Why? Because happy people, happy employees would make the customers happy and ultimately profits would come, satisfying all the shareholders. So what are the core cultural values? So here it was the employee first philosophy. So they said that we take care of our employees and they take care of our customers. It believed in humor and fun at work. So the flight attendants, they told jokes, corporate events were very light-hearted, loyalty and respect was there. So leadership was expected to be visible, approachable, accessible and loyal to the frontline workers. Then there was operational simplicity. So point-to-point routes were there, single aircraft model, the Boeing 737, and there were quick turnarounds. So these were the core cultural values of Southwest Airlines. So now what was the challenge? The challenge was the post 9/11 industry meltdown. So after the 9/11 attacks in 2001, the US airline industry, it suffered a catastrophic loss. The demand for airlines, it plummeted, costs were soared and security related disruptions, it actually shook all the operations. So what were most of the airlines doing and how the other airlines responded? They responded by laying off thousands because there was no business, people were not flying and there was of course the security related issues were there. So airlines, they started laying off thousands of their people. They were cutting routes and salaries of the people and they were seeking government bailouts. So what was the cultural threat over here? The pressure to behave like competitors. And layoffs was considered inevitable. And the Wall Street, it demanded aggressive cost cutting. So in the business scenario, we have often observed that there is a herd behavior, that what everybody is doing, what our competitors are doing, we as an organization also start behaving in that manner because we feel that they are doing, why can't we? If they can lay off, why can't we? And that is the only solution that majority of the airlines could think of to be at least relevant and sustainable in those crisis time. At those times we don't think of profit, we think of survival. So majority of the competitors of Southwest Airlines, they were laying off. So Southwest's response was staying true to its culture. So despite external pressures, Southwest made a deliberate decision to prioritize people over profits and stick to its cultural DNA. So they decided that they are not going to lay off the people. That is not their course of action because that is not their culture. So what they did was, number one, no layoffs or furloughs. While other airlines laid off tens of thousands, Southwest kept all its employees. The CEO, Jim Parker, famously said that we will not punish our people for events they did not create. So this was a geopolitical thing. And the people of Southwest were not responsible for that scenario or those situations that were happening. So that shows sheer grit of Jim Parker, the CEO, who says that I am not going to punish my people for the events that they did not create. Means they are not responsible for whatever is happening. So why should I lay them off? So what they did was, there were executive pay cuts. So the leadership, they reduced their own compensation first before asking anyone else to sacrifice. Again, the role of leadership that we emphasized upon. So here is a reiteration of the fact that what is the role of leadership in sustaining your culture. Then they maintained the morale and rituals. So Southwest kept holding celebrations, employee appreciation events, and in-flight humor even during tough times. So culture wasn't shelved, it was in fact emphasized, because this is the time where you need to show that you have sustained your culture despite the crisis, despite the tough times. Then there was transparent communication. So regular town halls, honest updates, it helped employees understand the decisions and stay engaged. So even if you are changing certain policies, certain procedures, it were clearly, transparently communicated to the people, and the why behind those decisions was also properly communicated to them, so that they know why this change is happening. So now what was the impact and outcome? It was observed that employee loyalty skyrocketed. The productivity and customer service remained high. Now since the people were happy, they were secure of their job, they did not have the fear of losing their jobs, they would serving their people, the customers, in a better manner. Because of which, of course, the customers retained with the airlines. Means the productivity was of the airlines also increased. Then customer trust deepened. Passengers valued the consistent human touch. And as human beings, we all value the emotional aspect or the human touch. If the service providers are able to provide that, I think there is nothing else a consumer would want. So the consumer's trust, it increased. Then financially, the organization became resilient while others declared bankruptcy or they merged with other airlines. Southwest remained profitable for 44 consecutive years until the COVID-19 pandemic. And Southwest Airlines became the textbook example of a culture first organization, that no matter what happens, no matter how rough the sea is, we are going to stand by what we want people to know us for. People want to know us for our culture, and we are going to stand by it. So what are the lessons learnt here? So the insight here is that leadership behavior either protects or fractures culture. That is the importance of leadership. So executives led by example and reinforced values. So since the CEO believed that I am not going to punish my people, and the consequences everybody saw. Then the next insight is that culture must guide decisions in crisis, not just peacetime slogans. So when everything is fine, when everything else is doing good, you don't get to understand your culture. You get to understand your culture only in the time of crisis. Like we talked about the Taj Hotel attack. Many people, they stayed back to help people when there was a terrorist attack, right? And Tata also helped all the victims, be the guests or be the employees. So that is the culture. So real culture shows when the going gets tough, as I said. So Southwest Airlines was using their culture, there was light-hearted jokes and people were greeted well, treated well, but they still stood by it when things went wrong. And the next insight and most important is that people first organizations often recover faster. Why? Because if people are happy, they are going to bring business, they are going to, means in whatever industry you are, if you are in service industry, then you would be, of course, you would be helping the customers, bringing in more business. If you are in some other industry, you would be performing better. So loyalty and morale reduce churn and boost resilience. The next case study of the day is the Patagonia, holding purpose over profit. So let's explore their journey. So Patagonia, founded in 1973 by climber and environmentalist Juan Chouinard. Patagonia began as a small outdoor gear company. From day one, it had a very unusual principle for a for-profit business. It's not a not-for-profit business. They always said that we are a for-profit business. We are in business to save our home planet. So this environmental mission has always been the soul of Patagonia's culture long before the ESG became trendy. The environmental, social and governance ESG became trendy. Patagonia was long back talking about all the three aspects. So what were the core cultural values? Number one, environmental activism. So deep investment in fighting climate change and protecting wildlands. The second core cultural value was transparency and responsibility. They were always candid about its impact, even when negative. Anti-consumerism, about the impact even when negative. Then they were totally against consumerism. They actually persuaded their customers to buy less and repair more. Means who would want their customers to buy less? But they always believed that you should buy according to the need. Then there was another core cultural value was employee autonomy. They encouraged work-life balance, values alignment and deep purpose. So what was the challenge here? Scaling without selling out. As Patagonia grew into a global company in the 2000s to 2010, it faced a profound cultural threat. Could it stay true to its values while becoming a billion-dollar brand? What were the pressures that were included? So the investors and stakeholders were pushing for higher profits, cost savings, opportunities from conventional but unethical supply chains. Mainstream retailers, they wanted bulk fast fashion models. So fast fashion means that you use, you buy, you use and you throw. That is fast fashion. But they wanted to build a sustainable fashion model. So marketing pressures to compete with brands like North Face and Nike was also there. So how do you figure things out? So, the decisions that defied the norm, culture over compromise. So, they did not compromise on their culture, rather they considered the culture to be in the forefront. They began a very interesting anti-consumerism campaign which said, "Don't buy this jacket," in the year 2011. And it is a marketing genius. On Black Friday, Patagonia ran a full page advertisement in the New York Times with a picture of its best selling jacket and a bold headline saying, "Don't buy this jacket." So, the message was that buy only what you need and repair what you own. So, what do you think would be the impact of this kind of an advertisement where the seller is requesting the buyer not to buy their product? So, the campaign actually highlighted the environmental costs of production, aiming to raise awareness about hyperconsumption and promote responsible purchasing to reduce the environmental footprint of buying new products. So, as consumers, we often keep on buying things whenever there is a sale, one on one, or buy one get two free. What we do is irresponsible buying. We do not require that number of things, but still we keep on buying. So, through this campaign, the company was trying to create an awareness among people that what is the cost of production. And ultimately, if you would keep on buying and you would keep on throwing your products, they are ultimately going into the landfills, creating a havoc for the environment. So, every buying decision that you take has to be taken very responsibly, keeping in mind the environment. And why it mattered? It was their culture statement that our values come before our sales and before the profits that we are going to earn or we want to earn. So, that positioning that they did through this advertisement was a genius. So, the environmental taxes and giving back. So, Patagonia, they started donating 1% of sales to environmental causes, and they publicly rejected a Trump era tax cut in 2018 and gave the full $10 million windfall to climate non-profits. Again, another strategy of how to position yourself as an organization that takes care or takes into consideration the environmental aspect of selling. So, the radical ownership shift happened in the year 2022. So, Chouinard gave away the entire company to a trust and non-profit dedicated to fighting the environmental crisis. And he quoted by saying that Earth is now our only shareholder. So, friends, up till now we learnt about two case studies. The first one was of Southwest Airlines. So, what happened after the 9/11 attacks? There were so many issues, there were less consumers, there were security issues with the flights. So, what the competitors of Southwest Airlines were doing, that they were either cutting the salaries of the people or they were laying off. But this airline, Southwest Airlines, it stood by their people, and instead of cutting the salaries of the employees, they started, why not start by the topmost leaders getting lesser pay. So, leadership behavior, as we said, can protect or fracture your culture. And we learned through this particular case study that culture must guide decisions in crisis and not just in peacetime. And the people first organizations they often recover faster. So, if you start believing in your people, in times of crisis, you would see that you would be able to recover fast because your people are with you. So, that is the importance of having a people first culture. Second case we did was that of Patagonia, who held purpose over profit. So, in the times of fast fashion, they were under the challenge of being they wanted to have more profits. They were facing competition from Nike, from all other fast fashion brands, but still they stood by their culture. They urged customers to buy less and repair more. They encouraged work-life balance, values alignment, and during the 2000s and 2010, they faced profound cultural threat. But still they managed to earn a good position in the market, and through this campaign of don't buy this jacket, that was an amazing strategy of how you can build your image, how you can stand by your own culture, how you can position yourself in the market, in the minds of your people. So, we will continue with more topics on organizational culture. Thank you.